Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Friday installment of the Corner Office Pod, where we talk about this upcoming week in the NFL season, what happened last week. Before we get to our regular scheduled programming, just a shout out to the NBA preseason. I
Yeah,
won't be watching that. I won't be
yeah.
watching those games.
I watched yesterday.
Did you?
And if you are like a 16-year-old living in the United Arab Emirates and that is your first time going to watch basketball, you are never turning the sport on again. It was so bad.
I didn't watch any of it. I saw that Peyton Pritchard had
It was the Julian Strother versus Peyton Pritchard Bowl.
sick.
Yeah, it
That's
was
what
awesome.
we need to be promoting in
Ruled.
Yeah, I believe it. So, I mean, cool that Bronny James had 2 points and a rebound and assist, but don't really care that much. And this really means nothing for the upcoming NBA season, but hey, basketball may be back. We're back. I love basketball. But that being said, NBA preseason basketball, it's kind of like the
Sucks.
summer league. I'm in and out. I really don't care, especially
Yeah.
when there's NFL football on. Eventful week last week. Really bad for picks on this show.
Oh yeah.
Really, really bad. I think Jack and I both finished 1-4 over the course of
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah, I forget we're playing that little game. 1-4. And
Yeah.
you know what it all came down to? It came down to Monday Night Football.
It did. Jack was 1-3 and I was 0-4, and it came down to the Tennessee Titans.
It came down to our not game of the week, as it
In
regularly does.
in an absolute, just an ass off on that one.
It was bad.
Game was really bad. Game was really, really bad.
All right, let's talk about some games that were good.
Yes, I don't hate that.
What do you think about the Bears-Rams last week? That game was nonstop action.
Yeah, really weird game. I think Caleb Williams has had a really strange start to his NFL career. I don't know if anybody's going to push back
Definitely.
on that. We're obviously Bears guys just cuz
My
'cause of
entire
Hard Knocks.
fantasy football team is Chicago
it's,
Bears.
it's more so because of Hard Knocks. I don't think Caleb Williams has played fantastic football yet, but DeAndre Swift looked pretty good, which is like the first time he's looked good all season.
Well, Caleb Williams so far this season has won one football game without scoring any offensive points,
Okay.
and one football game where he has more interceptions than passing touchdowns right now, which is certainly interesting. So I think that that's a fair diagnosis of the beginning to his career. It's definitely been interesting, but it hasn't necessarily been bad.
Yeah, but it hasn't been great either. I don't think Stafford's played fantastic either thus far. I think Kyron Williams has really been like the driving force behind that offense.
He is missing his main guy. He's missing his number one.
Yeah, which is a problem. Obviously, not having Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua is like, you're not expecting them to put up crazy good numbers. But, I mean, I'm expecting more at this point from a guy like DJ Moore, who's supposed to be Caleb Williams' number one overall wide receiver and some other stuff like that. But they keep winning. Like, they're 2-2, which to this point in the season, I don't know if that's, like, necessarily a bad thing. They have a bad loss to the Colts. But other than that, like, they played decent football thus far. I don't think anybody was expecting them to beat the Texans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly. You look at certain games, you don't expect them to win. I think the Colts is one that they could go either way for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're kind of living up to where we all thought they would be right now.
Yep.
Obviously you and I want to see them play a lot better, but I think that things that you can look at that are good out of that Rams game for the Bears. DeAndre Swift figured it out, not only running the ball, but he also was very good receiving the ball out of the backfield and getting out and clearing out and giving Caleb Williams an option, which is a huge deal for them so far because Caleb Williams' main problem is he's holding on to the football too long.
Right.
And he's taking forever to get rid of it. He's not even throwing it out. He's just doing nothing with it. And if DeAndre Swift can get into a position where Caleb Williams can dump it down to him for 2-4 yards, just avoiding a sack and a potential injury, that's huge for the Bears. And it's huge for DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
So that's something to keep in mind. The Rams are a team that seemingly have no direction.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that they have issues with their defensive line. Obviously, you lose Aaron Donald to retirement, which is like a crazy big hole for you. And then just the injuries, like they seem to be like a bit overwhelming for this team. Um, Look, they play in a very solid division right now, the NFC West. Like,
Absolutely.
obviously, the 49ers are the top of the league. I think I like the Cardinals a lot more than their record states. They're only 1-3, but like they're a very solid team.
I agree, and I think it's because they had a really fun first 2 weeks.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's potentially true. But also, like, I think the Seahawks this weekend kind of proved, or on Monday, kind of proved that they're like a solid team. You know, I mean, that was kind of a shootout game. They just really did not have any secondary protection. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but you know, going up against the Lions, another team that's supposed to be the top of their division. So honestly, I think this is a solid conference, and I just don't know if the Rams have enough firepower to get them through these divisional games that they're going to have to be winning.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. Let's move on now. Let's talk about arguably the worst game in football last week.
Yep.
Broncos Jets, man.
Ooh.
When are the Jets going to figure it out? I mean, they have 1 week when they're so incredibly good against a horrendous Patriots team.
Yeah.
And then they have 1 week where they go out and they put up 9 points against the Denver Broncos at home.
No touchdowns. I mean, they're
No
again,
touchdowns.
another team that's 2-2, but like their 2 losses are bad. Losses.
Really bad.
And I don't even think that their 2 wins are very pretty. Like, obviously, you tried to address all your issues at quarterback. I think that people are expecting them to push for Devontae Adams, which would really help them. Obviously, bro, can you explain?
It would help them, but then how does that change their dynamic, right?
Yeah,
with Garrett Wilson, how does he fit in?
Garrett Wilson hasn't even had a good start to his season. Like he hasn't played.
Your quarterback needs to be good in order to have a good start to your season.
I know, but I'd say that Alan Lazard has been their like number 1 target thus far. Especially in the red zone.
I don't know about that. It's certainly in the red zone. And they have that connection from Green Bay. And Aaron Rodgers has played going into the season, he'd played 4 snaps with Garrett Wilson. He'd played 3 seasons with Alan Lazard.
Right. I think Bo Nix is probably just Kenny Pickett, reincarnated here.
I agree.
Somehow they're going to like win a couple of games because Sean Payton's a good head coach, but he is not a good quarterback yet. I mean, I think he's shown potential. Like week 3, he looked pretty good. But I don't think that he's ever going to really develop into something great, especially behind a really bad O-line. But their secondary is fucking amazing. Like that is a really good
Patrick
secondary.
Surtain is genuinely he might be the best cornerback we will have in the 2020s, but nobody knows it because he plays for the worst Broncos teams.
Yeah, exactly. So
you would never know.
So we'll see with them. I don't know. Those 2 teams are just not as good as I don't think anybody had any expectations for the Broncos. Like, I think Bo Nix had like -7 passing yards at halftime.
In the first half, the Jets lost to a team that had his average yards per completion was -1 in the first half. How do you throw the ball 7 times and don't even get it past the line of scrimmage?
So that's a ridiculous stat. But that being said, it's fun. Like I love when 2 teams who are just completely awful go and play bad football. And
the craziest part about the end of that game was the Broncos went down the field and had a chance to kick a field goal to make it a full score game. And they missed the field goal. And then the Jets got the ball back, did the 2-minute drill, got themselves in a position for their kicker, and Greg Zerloin also missed a field goal.
Right. So just
Jets fans must have been
all over
suffering.
the place bad football. All over the place bad football. Another team that's played really bad football thus far, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They continue to play poor. I mean, the Houston Texans really gave them a game, which they probably shouldn't have. They only won 24-20. But I don't know. This is another team that I look at and I'm like, you have no direction. Like, I don't know what the plan is for you guys.
Certainly they have no direction. A positive for them is that Christian Kirk has found his stride. He looks all right. Remembered how to catch the football. He's been very good the last 2 weeks. Trevor Lawrence has to figure it out. He has to do something. I didn't watch this game, Texans-Jags. I don't really know a lot about it. I know that the Texans, I watched the last 2 minutes. I watched the Texans go down and score with a minute left on the clock.
Yeah.
What do you think about them, the
The
Texans?
Texans,
Are
they're
they
another team that's like, I think they're
at
slightly
this point?
overrated.
At this point, are they a disappointment to where their standards were?
I don't know. They're 3-1. It's hard to call a team that's 3-1. Disappointing. That's what I would say. Like I think that
Three and 3-1 with wins against the Jaguars, Bears, and Colts, and you got absolutely stomped on by the Vikings.
yeah, but they're sitting at the top of their division, which is the weakest one in the NFL.
You're right.
They have to win
Yep.
the AFC South, right? You are 1/3 of the way to winning the AFC South with 3 wins. You know what I mean? Like they have to win 9 games. That's all they have to do to get to the postseason.
That's right. Yeah.
So like, yeah, you have some really ugly wins. Like your win against the Colts is probably the best win that you have. You got stomped on by
Right.
the Vikings.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily know, like CJ Stroud has looked fine. You know what I mean? I don't think that they've had very much production from their backs. I mean, obviously the Joe Mixon injury has been a problem for them, you know? But like, I don't know. I think they have too much offensive firepower to be disappointing. That being said, their defense needs to hold up.
And with guys like Derek Stingley and Will Anderson, you'd think that they would be able to.
Yeah.
They gave up 29 points to the Colts. They gave up 34 to the Vikings. That's a lot. Even with CJ Stroud, I don't think you're going to get that many. I think that if we're playing the magic number game, I think it's 24.
Okay.
For the Texans.
Okay. I'm not out on the Texans yet, though.
I'm not either. No, I'm not at all. Yeah.
I think they're okay. Another like really weird team in the NFL right now is the Panthers. They looked good. And this is potentially just because Cincinnati looks really, really bad.
Well, they lost.
Well, I know they lost, but Andy Dalton ball is like it's like Flacco ball now. You know, I love when like an old 2010s backup quarterback comes in, or a guy who used to be a starter comes in and just like balls out. You know, it's great stuff. Bryce Young may never play a snap in Carolina.
He might not play this season. He might not play this season.
And I think
he might not play
decision.
Ever. Yeah,
I think that's a good decision for them to bench him and to make sure that he gets some time to like realize what the system is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was an interesting game. Chuba Hubbard, good player. But that being said, still Joe Burrow, I've not seen enough to be impressed by this Bengals team at all.
I agree. And obviously T. Higgins comes back last week and they put up 34 points. Like that is enough to win you a football game.
Yep, I agree.
Jamar Chase has a problem this year. It's his diva season. He's going into his contract year.
Yeah.
He had 3 receptions, one of which was a 64-yard touchdown, which was absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. He needs to find ways to get open. And especially when you have T. Higgins on the field, there's no excuse as to why you can't get open. If you're going to be that upper echelon of wide receiver, he has to figure it out. Burrow has to figure it out. And they need to find a concrete RB1.
Yeah, like you
either
can't
let Chase Brown get snaps or keep Zach Moss as RB1.
You can't be arguing for Justin Jefferson type of money when you haven't played like Justin Jefferson once this season, and he's done it with quarterbacks who like you would never play with. You know what I mean?
He's done it with Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, Kirk Cousins. Those are the quarterbacks that he's had.
Yikes.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I think we'll see with Jamar. I think he's looked better, especially with T. Higgins on the field. He's good for one long catch a game, but I do agree. I think his targets have been down this year pretty significantly. Like he just hasn't gotten as many receptions. He only had 3 receptions on Sunday. Like that's like not enough.
Yeah, he only had 6 targets. He only had 7 targets the game before that. He only had 5 against the Chiefs.
Yep.
And he only had 6 against the Patriots. That's ridiculous.
Like, those aren't good numbers. Those aren't. They're just not.
They're not.
Let's talk about a team we do like, the Commies, bro.
They're so good, dude. Come on.
Fun to watch.
I thought that they couldn't get any more fun to watch after last week, and then they absolutely stepped on the Cardinals in their trap.
Bro, they look great.
They look so good.
I love Washington Commanders football. Jaden Daniels is the truth. Brian Robinson Jr., people were out on him before the year started because Austin Eckler is like in the backfield.
It's ridiculous.
He's looked really good. Scary Terry is due for another 1,000-yard season, I'm assuming. You know,
hopefully.
Like Hopefully. I think we were just mentioning the Arizona Cardinals. Like, I'm still not out on them. You know what I mean? I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. has to step it up a little bit. He hasn't
Uh,
played fantastic to those, like, bro. He hasn't played to the level that we were expecting. Malik Neighbors has Daniel Jones throwing him footballs right now, and he is lighting the world on fire. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be a
yeah, I mean
generational wide receiver prospect.
they're different kinds of receivers though, right? Like
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison Jr. is a down the field, over the middle of the field kind of guy. Malik Neighbors is going to get 10, 11 catches a game.
yeah,
Marvin Harrison Jr. has 4 touchdowns in his last 3 games. That's really
yeah.
good.
A lot.
So I think he's been fine, right? But this Cardinals team is also too good to be getting absolutely smoked out of the water by the
Yeah,
Commanders.
they can't be getting mollywopped by the commies.
No,
That's true.
no.
They cannot be getting
That's out of pocket.
mollywopped by the commies. Let's talk about another like really strange game that happened this weekend. I think a lot of people had like really high expectations for the Bills coming off the first 3 weeks of the season, and then once again they play a top 10 team in the NFL and they just crumble. You know,
Really strange game.
yeah,
I mean, on the first offensive play of the game, Derrick Henry had like an 84-yard touchdown.
yeah, and he cooked, like he lit them up.
was
Josh Allen
impressive.
did not look great. He did not look great. I think the Ravens are starting to figure it out, which is perfect. Like that's kind of what we expected from them. Obviously, they're a team that should be 3-1. They're a
I
foot
agree.
away. They're a foot away from going to OT with the Chiefs. They're not having a mental lapse game away from beating the Raiders. And
They
then,
shouldn't lose to the Raiders. No way.
yeah. So I think the Ravens are fine. I think Harbaugh's a good enough coach. I think they'll be fine. But that being said, this is a sign of, good things for the Ravens is to, beat a Bills team that people were like, oh, maybe they are contenders. And now again, I'm kind of like,
But like, what's with the Bills? Was that like a one-time thing? They had looked like the best team in the NFL up until that point.
But that's always what the Bills do. They do that all the time.
Right, but they had looked different than they had in past years. The Bills before they win games by a lot, but they don't necessarily convince you that they are the best on all levels of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Through the first 3 games, they were killing every team that they played.
Yep.
And then they go up against the Ravens, and they don't even give them a game. The Ravens completely shut them down. What happened?
It was weird. I don't know, to be honest.
Do you think that it's a one-time thing, or do you think that it's part of their curse that they can never get it done in big games?
I mean, I think they're going to have a bounce back week this week. I don't even know who they play. They play the Texans, right? So I think they're going to have a bounce back week this week against a solid team. But that being said, like we're not going to know until they play a team like the Chiefs, like like later down the line because I mean
Absolutely.
the Bills they're going to play Miami, they're going to play New York, and they're going to play New England twice a year, and they're going to win all 6 of those games if
probably
barring nothing going completely awry is what I would say. You know what I mean? So like
they're expected to definitely win all of those games.
Correct. So we don't know what they're going to look like once we get into divisional play. But it's not a great look for them to have been just decimated by the Bills or by the Ravens. Sorry.
Let's talk about the Chiefs playing the Chargers. They go into LA and they win 17-10.
Yep.
But they lose their number 1 target. Rashee Rice went down with what I would assume is a season-ending knee injury. They've already got Pacheco, who possibly may not come back either. They've already lost Hollywood Brown, who is definitely out for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And even with those guys, the Chiefs weren't winning any games in convincing fashion. But somehow they're 4-0.
You can't count them out.
You can never count out the Chiefs.
They've done this before where they've been, in holes, especially last year where there was the whole weapons question for Mahomes and then they won the Super Bowl. So like, I'm not concerned at all.
Here's the thing that separates this season from past seasons. Every past season they have had a running back. So they have been able to either kill you on the ground or kill you in the air.
Yeah.
And you've had a dual threat. Now with Pacheco out and Carson Steele, who's already fumbled the ball in the backfield, they don't have any threat on the ground. You can fully bet on them passing the ball and put a spy on Mahomes. Put 2 spies on Mahomes. Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I just
maybe.
think that it's a different layer. Obviously, you can't ever count them out. They're probably going to end up winning the Super Bowl and killing all of us again.
Be very upset when that happens too. Yeah,
Very
but
upset.
I don't disagree. I think that
But I
that
mean,
is a
they've been on the brink of losing these games. How much longer can they get away with the skin by the skin of their teeth for?
yeah. I agree. I agree. I agree. I guess we'll see. Um, Look, I don't really need to talk about the Titans game anymore. It was awful. Will Levis is probably
Yeah, no,
bro.
we're
I don't
good.
understand if he's why they're starting him. Like
No,
Mason
me
Rudolph
neither. I
looked
have
way
no
better.
idea.
Mason Rudolph looked way better than him. But that being said, that game was pretty terrible. It was
Will
the
Levis is
only other
just
Monday.
he's just horrible at football.
Yeah, he's just not good. But that was the other Monday night football game, so no one really watched that one while the Raiders Bills game was on. Thursday night football though, that game was electric. That game was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it.
That was arguably the best Thursday night football game we've had in years. Since I can't even tell you. Since
Yeah.
Chiefs Lions or Chiefs Rams way back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Kirk Cousins is maybe breaking the primetime curse at this point. He really tried to keep it going though with that interception late in the game there.
Well, but that interception late wasn't his fault. Like it's 4th and 17, you have no options, and you're getting rushed by 4 defensive linemen.
Yeah, so I guess
throw the ball out of bounds, take a sack, or throw a pick.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. But that being said, like it's it's good to see some actually good primetime games because I feel like the NFL has had like a bit of a Thursday night curse for these past few years where like games are just terrible on Thursdays. But it was a lot of fun to watch. My roommate actually said that the game was going to go to overtime before it happened, and then it did happen. So I mean,
That's
shout
awesome.
out David, he was on that. He's back there.
Yeah, dude. We were sitting there watching the game. They went 3 and out with 1minute and 14 seconds left. I was like, there's no way they could possibly win this game. And then the Bucks don't get 1 first down. You need 1 first down. You had 450 total yards of offense, and you can't get 1 first down when you have to. This Bucks team is perennially mid.
They're an interesting case. Rashad White needs to unhook the trailer off his back when he's running downfield. He had like an open carry that was going to be, like a 80-yard touchdown for my for my fantasy football team, and he's just, it's over. Like I don't know what to do in this scenario.
But I think that this season, honestly, the NFC South has been one of the more impressive divisions in the NFL. No one thought that the Falcons or the Saints were going to have any value this year.
I mean, I think the Saints have cooled off, but I agree. Like, I think,
but they're not a guaranteed win like they have been in past years.
Yeah, but teams had expectations for the Falcons. They thought the Falcons were going to be pretty solid.
Expectations is different than what I would argue is different than what they've gotten though.
Yeah,
this Falcons team is dangerous.
I don't know if I've been more hyped this season than like Perk Thuggins doing the swag surf with the whole crowd. That shit was awesome. Yeah, obviously you have the Kirko Chain stuff. Is he a top 10 quarterback right now in the NFL?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, he is.
All right.
I mean, last year it was Jared Goff who was number 10. This year, Kirk has taken his spot.
I think that Jared Kirk was a top 10.
Yes, I think that
run me through your top 10 right now.
Well, I'm going to have to throw you names off the rip.
All right. Yeah, fine.
So we've got Kirk, Lamar, Joe Burrow,
okay,
Josh Allen. I'm gonna Mahomes for sure.
Yeah.
And see, so there's so many guys that you could throw into this conversation now, right?
You could throw Jordan Love out there. You could throw Jaden
CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, I'm gonna put in there right now.
Okay, Herbert,
I'm gonna put in.
Okay.
Now, guys that I'm thinking about here. I've got 3 spots left, one of which I'm gonna give to Kirk.
Okay.
So I've got 2 spots left. Names that come to my mind. Dak Prescott.
Yep.
Jordan Love.
Yep.
Kyler Murray.
Yep.
Jaden Daniels.
Yep. Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Okay.
I think that the two that make my list, it's hard for me to say this, but I think it's Dak Prescott, and I think that it's Kyler Murray.
Interesting. All right. Off the dome. Well done. I mean, Staps.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Snaps for that.
I'm sorry.
What?
Jalen Hurts is there over Kyler Murray. They are on by this week.
He's looked awful.
He has looked awful. He is still a top 10 quarterback.
Fine. Until next week when they lose to the Browns.
That is correct.
But yeah, that wraps up last week. We're obviously going to do our picks now.
Yeah.
This is the fun part of the show. We were really, really bad last week.
We have been really bad all year.
I was 5-0 the first week. I did really well.
I was
1-4
Yeah, I think I've been 3-2, 3-2, 1-4.
Yeah,
so I think we're both hovering around 500.
But yeah, last week was really, really, really poor. But look, the games this week are going to be really competitive. I'm really looking forward to it. I think there are some sleepers in here. And yeah, I want you to run me through like what you're thinking about for this week. Give me your first game here.
My first pick, I'm going across the pond. I'm going to take you to Wembley Stadium where the Vikings are playing the Jets. Jets looked horrible last week.
They did.
Don't trust Aaron Rodgers overseas for some reason.
Interesting.
And the Vikings look absolutely incredible so far. One of 2 4-0 teams left. I'm going to take the Vikings over the Jets -2.5.
Okay. I like that pick a lot. I think the Jets, again, are just a team that's not like they're overrated.
Yep.
So every pick against the Jets, I'm pretty on board with right now. For me, I am going to go. I'm going to fall for the old adage that I did last week, and just basically pick the winner of this game. Look, we're a Pats fan show, and I think Miami's looked really bad. And because of that, last week I rode the Pats. The week before, Jack rode the Pats. The week before that, Jack rode the Pats. This week, it's me again. The Patriots will win at home in Gillette Stadium against the Miami Dolphins. They will cover +1.
You know what the crazy thing is? I love that pick.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Last year, Christian Gonzalez was one of 2 cornerbacks to hold Tyreek Hill under 100 yards, and that was with Tua.
Yeah,
I think our defense
Tyler
kills
Huntley
them.
Bowl still? Is he still the starting Quib?
Beats me.
I have no idea.
Possibly.
It says Tua potential return. If Tua does return, this pick is just
you're cooked.
Throw it out. It's over.
I don't think he's going to return. I don't think they can do that again.
If he doesn't return, the Patriots have this game in the bag. I'm calling it right now. Let's go Jacoby Brissett ball. Antonio Gibson is our starting running back, I think. So here we go.
That's correct. Yes. My second pick, I'm going to take the Commanders -3.5 over the Browns. The Browns are another team that have looked shocking. I'm getting on that Commanders bandwagon, baby. Choo-choo, I'm on that train.
Yeah,
we're going to keep rolling into this next station.
That was a game that I wanted really badly, and then I looked to see like who you picked, because normally for the 3 games we like to like do different things, and I looked at that and I was like, damn, you read my mind on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I really don't know why the Cleveland Browns like are even in conversation to win this game. They've looked so incredibly bad, and Washington has some really impressive repertoire-based wins. I think they're just going to continue to roll that over. For me, for number 2, I'm doing another thing that I like just don't really like that much. I'm taking the Jags at -3 over the Colts. I think the Colts have looked
+3.
They're not.
The Jags are +3.
They're favorites. Jags are favored.
You wrote down +3 in the doc.
Yeah, well, they're favored, so they're going to cover -3 over the Colts. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh,
I think this is the week that they win a game and everybody's like, oh, they're like confident at football, and then they lose again. That's what I'm predicting right now.
You wrote down +3 in the doc, and I didn't think it was a bad pick. I have no idea why you would ever choose that game. It could totally go either way. Is Joe Flacco playing?
I don't know. That's actually a good question.
Flacco's playing, and there's no
starts.
Jonathan Taylor. There's no
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor. That's a huge deal. If
I
Flacco's playing, you might be cooked.
Yeah, dude, I will be watching this game.
Me too, for sure. I'm going to throw this one on. My last pick, this one seems offensive to me.
Okay.
Just like a gigantic middle finger after you beat one of the best teams in football on Sunday Night Football last week, and you're now going against one of the most disappointing teams in football thus far. Mm-hmm. I have the Ravens over the Bengals -2.5.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Ravens run them off the field. But that being said, this is a big statement game for that division, so I guess we'll see what happens there.
100%.
For me, my final pick here is another one I just don't like that much. I'm taking the Bears to cover -4 over the Panthers. I mean,
Andy Dalton revenge game?
Yeah, but they always have 2 games. This is the thing about backup quarterbacks who come into the NFL. They have 2 games where you're like, oh, they're not bad, you know. And then game 3 is like the evident fall off when every team knows exactly what their tendencies are.
Yep.
That's what I'm predicting coming here. I think Caleb Williams has looked better week in, week out, and I think DJ Moore has a big week this week. So I am picking the Bears here to cover over the Panthers.
Let's move into game of the week, shall we?
Game of the week. Yep.
Game of the week. We have Bills-Texans in Houston. Big matchup this week. I think this is a huge tester game for both sides. Obviously, Bills come off getting stomped. Texans have had a couple shaky games. It's really going to be who wants it more. I think the Bills are going to want it more. I think they have a comeback game. I got Bills over Texans.
I do too. I'm riding the same pick as you are. I'm also taking the Bills over the Texans here. Not much explanation needed. I think they're just a better football team.
Yeah. All right, let's move into not game of the week, shall we?
Here we go. Yeah.
We got a boomer coming at you from the Mile High Field. The Denver Broncos are going to find themselves on this list for the 3rd time this season in 5 weeks.
They're so bad. I think the Raiders are also in the 2nd time here.
Yeah, for sure. We got Raiders-Broncos this week.
Awful game.
Awful.
Will not be watching.
Horrible game. I hope it's a 4 o'clock game, so I'm gonna have to have
anything to not watch it. I will not watch this game. I don't even have a.
It's a flip of a coin. I'm gonna go with the Las Vegas Raiders. Over the Broncos.
I don't even have a pick. Like I don't even know who to take right now.
You want to flip a coin live?
Oh no! Wait. Yo, who do you like? Broncos Raiders.
What's the spread?
It doesn't matter. Just money on.
Probably Raiders.
Raiders?
Yeah.
All right. We're rolling Raiders. We're both going Raiders.
Go Raiders, dude.
Go Raiders.
Hopefully we can get a bounce back week. We really need it. And hopefully you guys will be tuning in next week when we bring you our week 6 coverage. And maybe we'll even talk about some basketball, but that's neither here nor there. Until then, this has been... No, probably not. This has been The Corner Office, and I'm Jack Byrne.
I'm Alex Penders.
Corner 3.